Welcome back, everyone. So today I want to talk about Josh Duggar. Someone had asked me to make a video about it in the comments. I don't remember who it was, but anyways, I thought, why not? I don't watch 19 Kids and Counting, but it is an interesting case. So Josh Duggar, if you don't know who he is, he's best known from the reality TV show 19 Kids and Counting. He's the eldest of the aforementioned 19 kids. I do want to mention that I don't watch the show, but I am familiar with the show. I generally know, the plot of the show. I just don't watch it, so keep that in mind. I don't think it'll be a big deal, but again, I did want to mention it since that is where most people know him from. Anyways, Josh Duggar, he's married to his wife, Anna. They have 6 kids, and they have a 7th currently on the way as this, case is unfolding. On April 29, 2021, Josh Duggar is arrested for possessing and receiving child pornography. He pleads not guilty the next day, which upset people, but, that is what I feel like most people should have expected him to do, which was definitely the smarter thing to do. So he pleads guilty the next day, again, on April 30th. And then on May 5th, he has a bond hearing and is granted bail. So now he's out. He's staying with a friend. He can't be around his children. He's not legally allowed to be with them. He's staying with a friend. And now this isn't the first incident with Josh Duggar. I'm sure most of you are already aware of that fact. But just in case you're not, I am going to go over a short timeline of the public incidents or scandals, whatever you want to call them. So like I said, Josh Duggar is no stranger to being a total piece of shit. And I'm going to go over the 2 major incidents that have been made public. Now, if you were a fly on the wall in Josh Duggar's life throughout all of these years, is there more that people would probably like to know about? Probably a lot of stuff's happening that people would be interested in finding out about. But again, that's just speculation, and obviously we can't know for sure, so I'll just talk about, again, the 2 major incidents that have been made public, these scandals. So the first incidents of Josh Duggar and child molestation that we know of occur in the years 2002 and 2003. Those incidents, I'm going to keep using the word incidents to be nice, but they wouldn't be made public until May of 2015 when the magazine In Touch Weekly, which I've never heard of, published an article revealing incidents of molestation involving Josh and multiple, underage girls, almost all of whom were his siblings, except one was a babysitter, apparently. And that information in that article came from a police report that, again, In Touch Weekly got from the police through a Freedom of Information Act request. So, again, just to clarify, the events took place in 2002 and 2003, but the article wasn't published until May of 2015. However, there had been rumors for years about Josh and, his actions for years on the internet. So it wasn't exactly new. It just was never mainstream news until the article came out in 2015. And again, that was in the magazine In Touch Weekly. According to this timeline published by USA Today, which I am following for this video, I'll link that in the description, Josh Duggar first admitted to his parents that he had molested one of his sisters in 2002, and then in 2003, he would go on to admit to more incidences of child molestation, again, involving his sisters, and like I said earlier, one of them was a babysitter. So Josh confesses, all right, he admits to his parents what he did, and then in turn, Josh's parents, his dad, Jim Bob, he goes to the church elders for guidance, okay? And the elders get together, I guess, they call a meeting of the Brain Trust. And what does the Brain Trust come back with? They come back with the conclusion that Josh needs to get treatment. He needs some help. Now, why they had to go to the church elders to come to that conclusion, I have no idea. I feel like you could have gone to a 3rd grader and they probably would have told you the same thing. So, anyways, Jim Bob goes to the elders. They come back. Hey, Jim, Josh needs to get some help. So reportedly, following that conversation, Jim Bob sends Josh to some kind of Christian counseling camp. And I say reportedly because I can't seem to confirm that this actually happened. So I'm going to say reportedly, but I'll just take his word for it, whatever. I really don't care that much. So I don't really know how to describe it, but if you've ever seen the movie Jesus Camp, it's a documentary, actually. So if you've ever seen the documentary Jesus Camp, I would imagine it was probably something along those lines. So in March 2003, Josh goes to Jesus Camp. That's great. He stays there for a couple of months, and then in mid-July, he comes home. He comes back to live in the house with the same people he molested. Almost all of the people he molested, actually all of them except one, are now living in the same house as Josh, okay? And it's at this point when Josh gets back from Jesus Camp that law enforcement is finally brought into the picture in any way, shape, or form. So enter Joseph Hutchins. Joseph Hutchins is a family friend of the Duggars. He is a state trooper, or at least he was a state trooper at the time this happened. He's not anymore, but it is important that he was when this did happen. It ties in legally. But anyways, former state trooper, and also later revealed to be a fan of child pornography as well. Now, just to clarify, again, this is July of 2003. Josh just got home. And now it has been over a year, or maybe just under a year, since the Duggars first found out about Josh's actions. And this is the first time that law enforcement has been brought in any way, shape, or form. And again, like I said, Joseph Hutchins, family friend. So they bring in law enforcement, but they bring in a very, very friendly face. Now, I've been reading about this situation a decent amount, and the phrase I keep running into in regards to the interaction between Joseph Hutchins and Josh Duggar is that Joseph Hutchins gave Josh Duggar a very stern talking, okay? A very stern talking, all right? So Hutchins gives Josh a very stern talking to, and again, let's keep in mind, he's also a fan of child pornography, so I feel like very stern talking to is probably code for, how to not get caught being a pedophile training session, right? And that is about the extent of effort made to actually resolve this issue in any way, shape, or form. It would seem that calling Hutchins was really as far as the Duggars were willing to go to actually do anything about this. I feel like they kind of just went with the mindset that, Josh, well, he went to Jesus Camp, he got this, very stern talking to, and, he's apologized, and now I feel like they're just kind of convincing themselves that everything is now okay. Josh is fixed. Everything's fine. Everything's dandy. Let's just go back to our normal lives, sweep this under the rug, act like it never happened. Obviously, it's better for their image that way. I feel like it probably makes them all feel better about themselves to just act like it didn't happen. So now we have to jump to 2006. The show hasn't started yet, but they have, the Duggars, been on TV already at this point. There was a special, I think it was called 14 Kids and One on the Way. That had aired, but again, the show hadn't started yet. And now, one important thing I do want to note before I start talking about the year 2006 is that back in 2003, Joseph Hutchins, the state trooper, was supposed to report the sexual misconduct. He was supposed to legally report that to law enforcement. He was a mandated reporter, which, just means that if you find out about something like that, sexual misconduct, you have to legally report it. He chose not to, obviously, so that's why we have to jump all the way forward to 2006 to start talking about anything else. On December 7th of 2006, Arkansas Child Abuse Hotline gets a tip about the Duggars. They get a tip telling them or warning them about possible sexual misconduct going on in the Duggar household. And on the same day, again, December 7th, the Oprah Winfrey Show gets the tip saying essentially the same thing. The Duggars were scheduled to be interviewed by Oprah, but obviously that tip comes in. They forward that tip to law enforcement, and that interview gets canceled. And thanks to these tips, at this point, law enforcement properly notified. Keep in mind, remember, Joseph Hutchins, the family friend and ex-state trooper, he was supposed to have reported this back in 2003, but obviously, again, like I said, he chose not to. So it wouldn't be until 2006 that law enforcement is properly notified. And following these tips, the Springville PD starts conducting interviews. They start interviewing the Duggars. The Duggars do admit that the incidents occurred, or at least they admit to a portion of the incidents. It is speculated heavily that they held back. And obviously, we don't know, but, it isn't the hardest thing to believe that they possibly left out some details or perhaps left out some, entirely separate incidents of molestation. But either way, they admit that it happened in their house to some degree. But they say that the issue, is resolved, that they want to move on. Josh, again, he went to Jesus camp, he got a stern talking to, and the family forgave him and they were just ready to move on. And coincidentally, the statute of limitations, which is 3 years in Arkansas, had passed. So at this point, Josh couldn't be charged for his actions in 2002 and 2003. It was simply just too late. The statute of limitations had passed. So a police report was filed, but again, there's nothing that they can really do. And I would imagine that this is around the time when the rumors started to circulate on the internet about Josh Duggar and, child molestation and whatnot. And now we have to jump to 2008. 2008, 19 Kids and Counting, the show starts. Wasn't 19 kids at the time, but it is now. I think it was 17 then, but like I said, it is 19 now. So I'm going to keep calling it 19 Kids, even though it was 17 at the time. So 19 Kids and Counting starts in 2008, and the show airs for 7 years, and nothing about Josh really gets brought up. Obviously, like I said, there were rumors on the internet, but nothing was really concrete. So the show kind of just went on without a hitch until the article was published in May of 2015. It was actually May 19th, 2015 when the article was published. And then a couple days later, the police report that they got the information from was also released. And a few months later, the Duggars go on TV to defend Josh. And rather than address the allegations of molestation in their house, they start arguing that the police report shouldn't have ever been made public because Josh was a minor when he had committed the crimes that were involved or stated in the police report, and that they blamed law enforcement for not protecting the privacy of juvenile records. Now, it should be noted that the names were redacted when the documents were released, when the police report was made public. Names were redacted, and it was only confirmed to be Josh by a third party who was deemed reliable. Another interesting part of that interview was when the Duggars said that they thought their show could still be saved. Why they thought that, I really don't know. It's just another one of those things that confuses me. But they said that they thought that the show could be saved. Obviously, that didn't work out. The show got canceled like a month later in July of 2015. But don't worry. Don't worry for the Duggars, okay? They're going to do fine because obviously TLC is not going to throw away their cash cow, okay? So like 6 months later, they come up with a spinoff. It's called Counting On, and it's essentially the same thing as 19 Kids and Counting, just with a different name. Obviously, now the 19 Kids and Counting name has been, just been seen too many times in the same sentence as, sexual assault and child molestation and pedophile. So it's hard to not think about that when you hear 19 Kids and Counting. So you got to come up with a new name. So they call it Counting On. And again, like I said, it was the same thing. And it's actually still on. But again, same thing, new name. But there are small differences. It does focus more on the lives and families of the kids, a lot of whom are now grown. So it is a little bit different. It's not exactly the same, but it is extremely similar. And that was the first scandal involving Josh. The second one would actually be in the same year. So 2015 was another terrible year for the Duggar household. But that would come only a few months later. It would be the Ashley Madison data breach scandal. Obviously, that affected a lot of people, not just the Duggars, but Josh Duggar was one of the people caught up in that. In July 2015, the website Ashley Madison was breached by hackers. Their database was compromised. The names and credit card transactions of many, many users were made public, and among those members was Josh, excuse me. And then later on August 20th, he admitted publicly to both watching pornography and cheating on his wife. And this came after his name was discovered among the information released. So all in all, 2015, not exactly a banner year for Josh or the Duggar family as a whole. Flashback, shades of 2006, one might say. But even worse, really, I imagine that the Duggar family probably thought in 2006 that, man, this has got to be rock bottom. It really can't get worse from here. the only way to go is up. And then 2015 came around, and it was just really bad on a whole nother level for the Duggars. And that brings us to 2021 and the most recent incident involving Josh. Probably won't be the last, but keep in mind, the case is ongoing. He has pled not guilty so far. And also keep in mind, this is actually the first time he's faced any legal repercussions or possible legal repercussions for his actions. So that's kind of nice that he's finally getting in trouble for something. But again, keep in mind, case is ongoing. Maybe he didn't do it. You know, maybe he was innocent. Maybe he is innocent. Maybe the child pornography just magically appeared on his computer. You know, who knows? I don't know. But again, I'll go over the dates real quick for that situation. April 29th, Josh Duggar gets arrested. April 30th, he pleads not guilty. May 5th, he gets bail. He can't visit his kids without his wife. He wears a GPS on his ankle, and he can't be in the house with any firearms. And he also is staying with a friend, and he can't leave the house unless he gets permission. So that's pretty much all we know about the case so far, and obviously we're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out in the courts. I would imagine that he's going to take a plea deal of some kind, you know, just to get any reduction in sentence that he can. You know, if he isn't a complete idiot, he'll probably just take a plea deal. They are accusing him of receiving child pornography in mid-May of 2019, so it seems like they've been working on this case for quite some time. So I would imagine that they have at least a pretty decent case against Josh Duggar. So again, I would assume he would take a plea deal if he isn't a complete moron, but you know, who knows? Again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So let's put everything from this video into perspective, okay? Josh Duggar, for the first time, admits to his parents that he molested one of his sisters in 2002. And it wouldn't be until April 29th of 2021, almost 20 years later, that he would ever be arrested for any kind of sexual misconduct whatsoever. Okay, and obviously he has completely avoided any kind of charges for his actions in 2002 and 2003. Okay, so 20 years have gone by and Josh Duggar has had no repercussions for his actions until right now. And actually, technically, he still hasn't had any punishment for his his actions. Obviously, he has a court date, he has a trial date now, but you know, it has been a long time coming. So that is Josh Duggar's case so far. Obviously, like I said, there's still stuff that's going to happen. You know, another thing I do want to add that confuses me a lot is how in the world is this guy still married? You know, why is his wife still, married to this guy? It doesn't make any sense to me. I get it that they're not supposed to get divorced in their religion, but I feel like at some point you got to draw the line, whether that line's a child molestation or, infidelity or child pornography. But I feel like the line has got to be drawn somewhere. And for 99.99% of people, they probably would have crossed that line years ago. But for her, I guess he just hasn't crossed that line, or she's not willing to. I don't know. I guess it just doesn't make any sense to me. She can do whatever she wants. But again, it just blows my mind. I don't really get it, and I start to get a headache trying to comprehend it, to be honest. So I'm going to stop and end the video there. So thanks for watching. Again, as this unfolds, I'll probably do another video, if this one does well, about this case later on. Once we get some more information and some more things happen, maybe some more court hearings, potential trial. I really don't imagine, again, this going to a trial. I hope that he's not that stupid, but anyways, maybe he is. Maybe he is. So yeah, thanks for watching.